In this video, I'll share how we can invest in 3 dividend stocks which will pay you a dividend from January until December every year. What's up, Louis? Guys here, hope you are doing great. Dividends is a great way that you can earn a passive income without doing too much. This is the ideal situation, and in my opinion, this is a great way to generate an income, and again, you really do not have to do too much. This is probably something that all of my viewers would consider doing. Dividend stocks is a great way to diversify your portfolio, and a lot of people like investing in assets which can actually pay you a income. This is an ideal situation to be in because while the price of your asset will rise, you will also receive an income every month. You've probably seen a few different dividend stocks, and the problem with investing only in one of them is that they only pay you either an annual dividend or quarterly dividends. This means that you get a dividend only once a year or 4 times a year. This is simply not enough, and what I'm going to share with you guys is to invest in 3 separate companies which will result in you receiving a dividend each and every month. This is absolutely great because this is as passive as income can get. The companies that I'm going to mention is companies that I personally feel is a good investment. This is just my opinion. Remember, this is not financial advice, and this is just simply me telling you guys what the strategy is that I try to follow and the way that I look at dividend investing. Before we jump into these 3 stocks, there's some very important information that I will be sharing closer to the end of the video, which will be about the tax complications of dividend stocks, especially in South Africa. So make sure that you stay until the end of the video so that you can be aware of this one thing. So with that said, the first company that I'm going to talk about is called JP Morgan and Chase. So JP Morgan is an American multinational financial service company. It's headquartered in New York City and it's incorporated in Delaware. It is the largest bank in the United States and the world's largest bank by market capitalization. So this description alone gives you a pretty good indication of what the company does. But besides that, the company is in a really good financial position. Again, this is information that you kind of need to confirm. Go and have a look at all of the stocks that I mentioned. Have a look at their balance sheets. Make sure that they are generating cash flow. Make sure that they are increasing their bottom line and actually growing their revenue. This dividend stock has a yield of 2.8%, meaning that this company will pay an annual dividend of 2.8%. Before we go ahead, there's obviously other companies that pays much larger dividends. But the thing is about large dividends, sometimes they do that for a reason to attract more buyers. And something that's really important to be aware of is we have to look at the history of the dividends. So when we go and have a look at the dividend history of JP Morgan, we can see that they have a 33-year dividend history, meaning they've been paying dividends for 33 years in a row. And the good thing to see is the stock price has obviously grown as well as the dividend payout. JP Morgan will pay out quarterly dividends in January, April, July, and October. Keep this in mind during the rest of the video. The next stock we are going to talk about is Procter Gamble, and I've mentioned this company on the channel before. So Procter Gamble is an American multinational consumer goods corporation. It's headquartered in Cincinnati in Ohio, and this is also a very good stock to consider. They pay an annual dividend of 2.42%. Again, this is divided in 4, which means it pays out 4 times a year or quarterly. And when we have a look at Procter & Gamble's dividend history, this is pretty insane because they have a 51-year dividend history. And like I mentioned earlier, their price has been growing tremendously, as well as their dividend payout ratio. This just means it is proof that the company is actually growing and it is rewarding its shareholders through dividend payouts. Using JP Morgan, we already receive dividends 4 times a year in January, April, July and October. Now, if we invest in Procter Gamble, we'll receive dividends in February, May, August and November. Last but not least, number 3 is Home Depot. You've probably heard of Home Depot before if you watch American TV shows. The Home Depot is an American multinational home improvement retail corporation that sells tools, construction products, appliances, etc. And this is another great company to invest in with an annual dividend of 2.29%. Again, we'll have a look at the dividend history of Home Depot. They have a 34-year dividend history where we can see that they have been raising their dividends year over year and the payout ratio is very solid. Adding Home Depot to our dividend paying list, it means that we will receive a dividend each month. Home Depot pays out quarterly dividends on March, June, September and December. This means that we are receiving dividends from January up until December, and we know that we can expect this dividends year over year because the companies that we invested in, they have a very good track record. Although I don't see myself as a full-on dividend investor, this is definitely something that we can add to our portfolio just to kind of diversify a tiny bit. With that said, this sounds great, and obviously this is probably something that you should consider, but remember there's always a catch. The catch is that we basically get taxed quite heavily on dividends. Remember, tax will always be there, and if you get taxed quite a lot, it means that you are actually making money. So never try to avoid tax just so you don't have to pay it. One of the problems with a dividend stock is that we get taxed with dividend withholding tax of 20%, meaning that if we receive 100 Rand, 20 Rand will be withheld. And this happens directly when the company pays out your 100 Rand. So for example, a company pays out 100 Rand. Before we even receive the money, 20 Rand will be deducted. Corporations pay taxes on their earnings and then pay shareholders dividends out of the after-tax earnings. Although it should not put you off from investing in dividends completely, it is something that we need to understand before we just invest a lot of money in dividends. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Like I said, when we invest in these 3 companies, it means that we will receive dividends throughout the whole year. It's a pretty solid passive income and we can expect some good growth as well. So I really do hope that you like this video. Support me by sharing this with your friends, like the video and comment down below which one of these 3 stocks you like the most.